The unstoppable ones. For hundreds of years they ruled the stars. The species called themselves the Prime Ones. No one dared say otherwise. They had no rivals, no equals, and no fear. Their ships moved like shadows across the galaxy, dark and quiet before striking with deadly precision. Worlds fell in hours, civilizations wiped clean like dust from glass. Across the stars their name was a whisper, one spoken only behind locked doors. The Prime Ones believed they were invincible, and so far, they were right. They didn't conquer, for resources or peace. They did it for power, for control, for the belief that only the strong had the right to decide who lived and who did not. Planet after planet surrendered at the first sight of their massive black ships. Resistance was rare, and always crushed. The Galactic Union, once a group of proud star nations, had shrunk into silence. Its members paid tribute or stayed hidden. Even their ambassadors bowed when Prime Ones walked in. Then one day, the war, Council of the Prime Ones pointed to a blue planet far on the edge of the spiral arm. "Earth," said the leader of the fleet. "The next one." Many around the table looked confused. Primitive, isolated, why bother? But the commander narrowed his eyes. "They've grown fast. They're different. Better to strike now than wait." And with that, the decision was made. A scout fleet was assembled, fast, small, but deadly. 5 ships, each enough to destroy a moon. Their mission: reach Earth, demand surrender, and strike hard if needed. Far from Earth, on a quiet station orbiting a peaceful moon, an old trader received a quiet message through a forgotten Union channel. It was simple. "Earth. Targeted. No help will come. Warn them, if you dare." The trader hesitated. Everyone knew the Prime Ones would crush any planet they attacked, but something inside pushed him forward. He sent a warning across the void. Earth received it 3 days later. There was no panic, no tears, no running. Instead, Earth's leaders met in silence. Military commanders were called. Scientists reviewed defense tech. Messages were sent to colonies in other systems. Within hours, factories shifted to war production. Satellites were reprogrammed. Old bunkers were reopened. Earth was not going to beg, and it wasn't going to run. Instead, it prepared. In orbit, the old colony of Vega 9 received a short message from Earth. "Stand strong. Help is coming." The Prime Ones arrived soon after. Their lead ship, black as midnight, entered Vega 9 space. Civilians fled to shelters. Defense systems locked on but held fire. Then the message came. "This world now belongs to the Prime Ones. Surrender or be erased." The humans replied only once. "No." That word echoed louder than any weapon. The aliens laughed. Then they fired. Their beams struck shields. Explosions followed. Buildings trembled. But something unexpected happened. The shields held. From underground bunkers, defense missiles launched. From the forests, drones rose into the sky. From orbit, hidden satellites rained plasma on the enemy ships. 2 alien ships exploded. The rest pulled back, shaken. Back on the flagship, the alien captain frowned. "No one has ever resisted like this." A new message came through from Earth. Just 5 words. "We don't start wars. We end them." The alien captain froze. Fear crept into his heart for the first time. Across the stars, whispers began to spread again. This time, the whisper was different. The humans are not like the others. First strike. The defeat at Vega 9 sent a wave of confusion through the Prime One's command. It was the first time one of their fleets had been pushed back by a species not even considered a major power. Reports were scattered and unbelievable. Human weapons were too small to matter, yet somehow precise. Their tactics were unpredictable. Worse, they didn't seem afraid. In the war chamber of the Prime Ones, their high commander paced. These creatures resisted? With what? Rusted satellites and old bunkers? "They had plans, Commander," one officer replied. "And a coordinated defense, not random panic." The commander paused. "Then we study them, learn how they think, and we end them." Meanwhile, on Earth, the mood was tense. but focused. Human leaders knew the Prime Ones wouldn't stop. The attack on Vega 9 was just the beginning. Earth wasn't just fighting for itself anymore. It was fighting for every planet too scared to fight back. A global command was formed. No country stood alone. Satellites were rearmed. Fleets were recalled from colonies. Scientists were moved to top-secret labs. Engineers rebuilt ancient space weapons left from old wars. Then, something bold happened. Earth didn't wait. A stealth ship named Shadow Wind was launched from Luna Base. Its mission: reach the Prime One's border and send back data, weak spots, fleet movements, and internal structure of their command. At the same time, a human strike team landed on a neutral moon near the enemy's space. They had one goal: intercept enemy communication and disrupt it. The Prime Ones didn't expect it. In the middle of their secure zone, systems began to fail. Command relays went silent. Weapon stations glitched. Surveillance feeds turned black. The Prime Ones scrambled to find the cause. They didn't understand. Humans didn't fight like them. They didn't face threats head-on. They slipped in quietly, cut wires, broke links, and disappeared before anyone saw them. One enemy ship reported a strange event. Humans had attacked without being seen. By the time guards responded, the humans were gone, and entire fuel systems were sabotaged. The Prime Ones had never fought ghosts before. Then Earth sent another message, this time across open frequencies. It echoed through space. You thought we were weak. You thought we would kneel. But now, it's your turn to run. The message spread fast. The aliens called it arrogance, but some, in private, called it courage. For the first time, cracks formed in the fear that surrounded the Prime Ones back on Earth. Military leaders met with scientists who had unlocked something important. They had found a way to mask fleet movements using solar interference, turning Earth's smaller ships into invisible weapons in deep space. They tested it by launching 2 cruisers into a nearby asteroid field where a hidden enemy ship waited. The human ship struck first. Fast, silent, precise. The alien ship never sent a signal. It was gone in seconds. Back in command, Earth's top general made it clear: no more hiding. If they want war, they'll learn how we fight it. The Prime One's leaders finally began to worry. Their fear was not just about human weapons, it was about their unpredictability. Humans fought in a way that no other species had ever done. And now, the galaxy was watching. Would Earth fall? Or would humanity become something even the Prime Ones feared? The human puzzle. Inside the deep core command station of the Prime Ones, silence filled the chamber. The last report from the outer sectors showed something unthinkable. 5 scout ships destroyed, 2 missing and 1 barely returned. Its hull scarred, its crew shaken. The humans were no longer a small issue. They were a problem, one growing too fast. The High Commander leaned forward, cold eyes staring at the map of Earth. What are they? No answer came. So he gave a new order. Send the Shadows. The Shadows were the Prime One's best spies. Silent, invisible, and masters of infiltration. No one ever detected them, no one survived them. Their job now was to understand the enemy. They were sent to Earth, to Vega 9, to Luna Base, disguised, quiet, hidden among the stars. But what they found confused them. Humans weren't like others. In the cities, people smiled even when sirens rang. In bunkers, children studied space and warfare. In command centers, leaders didn't scream or panic, they planned. More disturbing was this: humans didn't all agree, didn't follow a single leader. Yet they worked together better than any species the Shadows had ever seen. They shared information. They improved each other's ideas. They trained, adjusted, and moved forward, even after losses. One Shadow wrote in their secret report, "They fight not to conquer, but to protect. And they protect not just their homes, but each other." Another note followed. "They do not fear death. They fear failing those they love." That made the Prime One's council pause. They had crushed enemies with pain, control, and fear. But how do you crush someone who doesn't fear death? Then came the human experiments. Earth's labs weren't just working on weapons. They were building new armor that adapted to attacks, AI-guided fighter drones, space mines that moved like fish in space currents. And they were testing them fast, faster than any species had ever done. The Shadows tried to sabotage it. 2 of them were caught. Not by soldiers, by engineers. The humans had set traps not just for machines, but for minds, elsewhere in the galaxy. The human message kept spreading. We fight for peace, but we are not afraid of war. Small resistance groups from conquered planets began transmitting back. One rebel cell, long thought lost, reached out to Earth. We saw your fleet. We saw your fire. We're ready to stand. For the first time, the Prime Ones weren't facing just humans. They were facing hope, and that was far more dangerous. In the deep sky near Jupiter, Earth's hidden base iron ring completed a massive new project. A warship. Larger than anything built before. Not the fastest, not the most beautiful, but unbreakable. Its name was simple. Fortress 1. As it powered up, a single coded message was sent to all human bases. Let them come. The High Commander stood once more before his war council. Fear spreads, he said quietly. And it's coming from them. Another officer shook his head. This cannot be. They are small. They are scattered. The commander's voice was cold. They are humans, he said, and they are not like the rest. The invasion begins. The Prime Ones had never needed a full invasion force before. Most species surrendered at the first sign of their power. A few resisted, but only briefly. But this was different. This was Earth, and Earth refused to kneel. So the High Commander gave the final order. Bring the full force. Crush them. From the dark edges of space, the invasion began. Massive carriers, the size of mountains, drifted into position. Cruisers, destroyers, swarm ships, all gathered just outside Earth's solar system. Their numbers blackened the stars. The Prime Ones believed this would be the end of the human problem. They were wrong. Earth's sensors picked up the fleet days in advance, but there was no panic. Everyone knew what was coming, and everyone was ready. Earth's colonies went silent, dark and still, not from fear, but strategy. The silence was a trap. The enemy would walk right into it. At Luna Command, Earth's generals watched the incoming fleet. A single officer smiled. They brought everything, the general nodded. Good. Saves us the trouble of chasing them. On Mars, human soldiers waited underground. They wore armor designed to absorb energy blasts and return it. Above them, false structures made the surface look abandoned. The aliens fell for it. They landed in force, thousands of them. But when they moved deeper into the base, the doors sealed shut behind them. The humans came from below. What followed was brutal. Aliens screamed, confused, outgunned, trapped. By the time they called for help, their command ship was already hit by stealth drones shaped like space debris. Near Saturn, human ships emerged from its rings. These were not massive battleships. They were lean, smart, silent. Each one carried jammers, shield breakers, and EMP cannons designed to disable enemy ships without being seen. In one swift attack, 12 Prime One's ships were disabled, not destroyed, captured. This was a new kind of war. Earth's command ship, Fortress 1, finally moved into action. It didn't rush. It didn't need to. It moved like a storm, slow, heavy, and unstoppable. Enemy missiles struck its hull. Nothing happened. Its return fire was precise. One blast, one kill. A Prime One's admiral watched in disbelief. They built that in secret? No one answered. Back on Earth, civilians joined the fight. Not with guns, but with code, drones, medical support, and logistics. Young students hacked enemy ships. Old farmers helped direct supplies through underground routes. Even artists joined, creating morale videos that spread through every human screen and speaker. It wasn't just an army fighting, it was a species. The Prime Ones grew desperate. They tried to split Earth's forces by hitting outer colonies. But they were too late. The colonies had learned from Earth: stealth, traps, resistance. On one icy world, the entire alien landing force vanished. No fight, no remains, just a single human message left behind. Wrong planet. The invasion, which was supposed to take 3 days, had already lasted 2 weeks. And still, Earth held. The High Commander slammed his fists on the command table. This is not possible, but it was. Because for the first time in their long, bloody history, the Prime Ones were losing. The turning point. The invasion should have been over by now. The Prime Ones had sent everything: ships, soldiers, weapons. But Earth still stood. And, worse, Earth was fighting back harder with each passing day. The humans weren't just defending anymore. They were hunting. In orbit above Mars, the battlefield had shifted. What was once a quiet mining base had become the site of Earth's most daring operation. Human commanders knew the enemy would focus their firepower on Fortress 1, so they used it as bait. Hidden under the red sands of Mars was Earth's real weapon, a trap powerful enough to wipe out an entire enemy fleet. The Prime Ones arrived in force, their ships firing at Fortress 1. Beams lit the dark sky. Explosions burst across the battlefield, but the great warship didn't return fire. Instead, it broadcast a single signal. Within seconds, energy readings across the area spiked. Dozens of enemy ships lost control. Their weapons shut down. Engines failed. The humans had unleashed a pulse weapon that jammed the enemy's tech and caused chaos across their ranks. Then came the second wave, Earth's stealth fighters. They moved like shadows, striking before the enemy even knew they were there. On the ground, human troops emerged from hidden bunkers. They didn't wear bright colors or polished armor. They wore dust and scars. They fought with silence and speed. Alien soldiers panicked. Some fled. Some fought back blindly. None were prepared. Within 2 hours, the entire assault force on Mars was crushed. The human victory was broadcast across space. It wasn't just for Earth to see. It was for everyone. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Earth stands. Earth wins. Worlds that had bowed to the Prime Ones for centuries finally saw hope. In secret caves and abandoned cities, resistance fighters raised their weapons. Some wore old uniforms. Some had none. But they had something new: courage. And they had a new symbol of hope: humanity. On the other side of the galaxy, in a forgotten system once conquered by the Prime Ones, a small group of rebels attacked an outpost, and won. They sent a message directly to Earth. "We saw what you did on Mars. We believe now. We are with you." One by one, the old flames of rebellion lit up again. The Prime Ones were no longer feared as gods. They were now the hunted. Inside the war chamber of the Prime Ones, voices rose in anger. How is this possible? They were supposed to be weak. They are weak, one shouted. No, the High Commander said. They were underestimated. He turned toward the star map. Humanity fights like a wildfire. The harder we try to crush them, the faster they spread. A quiet voice added, "Perhaps we made a mistake." The commander clenched his fists. "No, we started this. Now we finish it." He ordered all remaining forces to regroup, but as they moved, more human allies joined the fight. The galaxy was changing, and Earth had started it. The rise of resistance. The galaxy was no longer silent. Once, entire planets would go dark the moment the Prime Ones arrived. Now those same planets sent signals, not of surrender, but of resistance. And Earth stood at the center of it all. In orbit above the moon, the station called SilverNet became the communication hub for the growing alliance. Humans worked side by side with species that had once been too afraid to even whisper against the Prime Ones. One alien commander, His voice shaking with emotion, said to a human officer, "We thought fear would rule forever. But you showed us another way." The Prime Ones responded with rage. They launched strikes across dozens of worlds. They burned forests, leveled cities, and sent messages meant to terrify. But the fear didn't spread. Anger did. Unity did. For every world they attacked, two more joined the cause, and Earth kept fighting, not just with weapons but with ideas. They sent engineers to help rebuild, doctors to heal, teachers to train soldiers. They weren't just winning battles. They were building a new kind of war, one where victory meant freedom for everyone, not just for Earth. In deep space, Earth's most brilliant mind, an engineer named Tomil, finished his prototype, the Pulse Breaker. It was a small device no bigger than a hand, but when launched into the heart of an enemy fleet, it disrupted every system powered by Prime One's energy tech. In the first field test, a fleet of 15 enemy cruisers froze mid-battle, their engines and weapons dead. Human fighters moved in. Not one shot missed. The Prime Ones began to fracture. Some of their commanders disobeyed orders, fleeing rather than face the humans again. Others turned to cruelty, punishing their own soldiers, to force them to fight harder. But morale broke. They had never trained for a war that didn't end in days. They had never fought an enemy that refused to quit, and they had never faced the kind of enemy that helped others fight back. In one liberated sector, humans arrived on a world where the people had lived underground for 2 generations. Children came up to see the sky for the first time. They didn't cry. They didn't speak. They saluted. To them, humans weren't just soldiers. They were legends. The war had started with ships and fire. Now, it became something more. The resistance had names, flags, songs, and every song told of Earth, of how the planet no one believed in became the reason the galaxy stood tall again. Inside the Prime One's homeworld, the High Commander stared at old maps that no longer meant anything. His empire was breaking, and at the center of the cracks, he saw one name again and again, Earth. He turned to his last advisors. "There's only one thing left to do." "What is that?" one asked. The commander's eyes narrowed. "End them. All of them. In one strike." A fleet of their most powerful ships hidden for centuries was called forth. The final attack was coming. They would destroy Earth itself or fall trying. The end of fear. The stars were quiet. But Earth knew what was coming. Satellites caught the movement first. Deep in the void beyond Neptune, the enemy fleet emerged. It wasn't just a fleet. It was everything the Prime Ones had left. Thousands of ships, war cruisers the size of cities, planet-breaker weapons that had turned entire worlds into ash. The last strike, the final gamble. Either Earth would fall, or the Prime Ones would be no more. At Luna Command, every screen lit up with warnings. But there was no panic, only action. Every human fleet was recalled. Space stations powered up. Colonies stood ready. Earth did not stand alone. Allies, new and old, answered the call. From the deserts of a burning world, 100 rebel fighters launched scrap-built ships. From icy moons, resistance fleets rose. Even the once silent members of the Galactic Union sent support. Everyone knew what Earth had done. Now they would return the favor. Above Earth, the final battle began. The sky burned. Prime One's ships rained fire, but Earth's shields held. Fighter squadrons moved like lightning. Human warships fought in perfect coordination, targeting weak spots, surrounding enemy vessels, disrupting their command. The Fortress One led the charge. It didn't move fast, but nothing could stop it, the eye. Prime Ones threw everything they had at it, but it kept coming. In the middle of the chaos, Shadow Wind, the same stealth ship that had once spied on the enemy, slipped into the heart of the enemy's command fleet. It carried a single payload, the Pulse Breaker. Tomil, watching from a secure station, activated it. The Pulse Breaker released a wave of silent light, For a second, nothing happened. Then the enemy command fleet shut down. Their weapons froze. Engines died. Shields fell. They were blind. They were helpless. And Earth struck. In the final moments of the battle, the High Commander tried to issue one last order, but his screen only showed static. Then a message appeared. A human general, worn, calm, focused, looked into the camera. "We warned you. We asked for peace. You brought war. Now we end it." Fortress 1 fired its main cannon. The Prime One's flagship vanished in a burst of silent light. It was over. Silence filled the stars once again. But this time, it was not the silence of fear. It was peace. Earth didn't celebrate with parades. Instead, it helped rebuild. It sent doctors to broken worlds, engineers to shattered stations, food to starving colonies. It didn't ask for tribute. It didn't ask for loyalty. It simply said, "You're free now." In the halls of the new Galactic Council, humans were offered a throne. They declined. One human ambassador stood and spoke to every species watching. "We don't want to rule the stars. We just want to make sure no one else tries to do what the Prime Ones did again." And the galaxy listened, because it remembered. It remembered the species that had no empire, no fear, and still stood against the most powerful force ever known. It remembered the planet that had been called weak, and it remembered the day the Prime Ones who feared nothing met humans, and finally learned what fear was.